What is up, everybody? My name is Brandon, and today we are going to be taking a look at the battery exercise 16th partial timing, as well as the snare exercises, triplet diddles, double stroke control, and paradiddle rudiments. 16th partial timing is really just going to be an extension of the bass drum laser beam primer that we took a look at last week, and it will act as a great supplement to that for the bass drums, as well as sort of an alternative and streamlined exercise for the snare drums. And really not too much has changed on this one. There's not really much to add from the bass drum laser beam primer. All of the same things apply. Just make sure that you're using the correct hinges to play these. Your note place is paramount. Recording yourself is going to be very important, and beyond that, you got this one. Moving on to triplet diddles, another one that really doesn't need much said about it. Kind of building on the same techniques that we saw in drags and 5-stroke rolls from the last clinic as well. This is sort of just a take on the short, long exercise that you see in a lot of drum corps and drum lines around the world, where we're just moving around this pattern and extending it, making it longer. Really where this one branches off from drags and 5-stroke rolls in technique demand is just going to be toward the end around measure 11, where we get the tap diddle diddle in beat 4, and then it scoots back by a beat in beat over to beat 3 in measure 12, where it's tap diddle 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 diddle, and then it moves over another beat until finally we have a tap and then a long roll just for the full measure. As you're going through this, again, same thing with drags and 5-stroke rolls. Be sure to use the proper hinges, be using a little bit of that fulcrum pressure, the support, in order to get through this. And another thing that I haven't mentioned up to this point is to make sure that you're not unintentionally accenting any notes that don't have accents on them. So meaning we have a tendency to see the double strokes, the diddles throughout this, and there's kind of this subconscious tendency to emphasize those and to add a little bit more stick height and a little extra weight to that. But be sure that you're steering clear of doing that. Moving on to double stroke control. This is one of my favorite exercises for getting your double stroke timing figured out, and will lead you very nicely into the paradiddle rudiments that we'll see next. The idea of this one is to be able to displace that fast technique double stroke, relying a little bit more on the bounce, and realizing that the timing of that is really just dependent on where do you put the first note and how much pressure do you apply. So one way to take a look at this and to really break through, probably the first place you'll start to find trouble with this is going to be in measure 3, where we sort of have this inverted double stroke timing, where instead of playing a long double stroke roll as right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, we're going to be playing it as right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, to get through that long double stroke displaced roll there. What I would suggest is to play this as quickly as you can using the wrist double stroke technique. And of course, that tempo is going to be different for everybody, but sort of exist on that edge until you start incorporating a little bit of the fulcrum pressure double stroke, and then introduce that while you're still sort of around the same tempo area to feel how it feels to have the stick just bouncing correctly in time. It's kind of a weird sensation, but once you get comfortable with this exercise, it does wonders for your double stroke timing and your evenness, and being able to hear those double strokes and feel them displaced at sort of strange timings. And lastly, of course, this will lead us really well into the paradiddle rudiments exercise. I'm not going to go through and break down all of the diddle rudiments in this. Of course, we've got paradiddles, paradiddle diddle, double paradiddle, triple paradiddle, and then an inverted paradiddle diddle, or sort of a slurred 6-stroke roll throughout. And I may be forgetting a couple, but this is a great opportunity to sort of familiarize yourself with those and start to see that with less familiarity in your rudiments, this will feel very uncomfortable to play this. It's going to be very hard to memorize and to play right, left, right, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right. Right? That doesn't sound like anything. It's very hard to memorize and internalize those sticking patterns. But if you think to yourself, paradiddle, diddle, double paradiddle, 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 then this becomes a lot easier to play, a lot easier to memorize and become familiar with. And of course, you can go through this entire exercise and assign all of those syllables and rudiments to everything that you play in this. All right, let's go ahead and grab a pair of sticks. Whoa there, Buster. I totally forgot to split this up into the different hands. So let me just quickly go through an example of what that would look like. I'm just gonna use paradiddles as an example, and then you can of course go through and go through this process on your own with all the rudiments in this exercise. But what I mean by splitting up the hands, and this is really the first time that that we're doing this for a purpose other than kind of learning the process of doing it. So one thing that you can do, let's take the right hand, for example. So if I'm going to focus on what the right hand is playing, I would take the left hand and put it either on the rim, or in this case, I'm going to actually put it on my, my thigh here, just because my rim is actually quite a bit louder than the practice pad head. So if you were on an actual drum, you could comfortably put this on the rim. But in this case, I'm going to just put it on my thigh. So what that would look like is I'll still play paradiddle, 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 until I hear that pattern start to form and figure out exactly what the right hand is playing, sort of the rhythm, and figure out where the double stroke happens in the diddle. And then I would get comfortable with that timing. Right, and you can hear in there, paradiddle, 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 paradiddle. And then hear that pattern, right? You can hear the rhythm on the right hand. It's a little weird because it's got the second ra when we get to paradiddle, para. That's a little bit of an awkward timing. But in general, you can hear that pattern start to form. Right, in paradiddle. And so what you would do is speed up that pattern and get used to and feel comfortable playing that rhythm on the right hand. Once that feels comfortable, go on to the left hand. In this case, it's kind of nice because the paradiddle, paradiddle will be the same on the left hand. It's just displaced by a certain amount of time. That's not always going to be the case with every rudiment, but in this case, with a lot of the diddle rudiments, the paradiddle rudiments, that does happen to be the case. But just be on the lookout for if it is the exact same as the right hand, just displaced, or if it's different. So left hand would sound. Right, you can kind of hear that they sound very similar, of course. It's just where you're internalizing and contextualizing that beat. So what you can do is speed that up, and in this case, you can even play the hands together. And once you feel comfortable playing that, in theory, however fast you can play it on the slowest hand, whichever that happens to be, that's how fast you can play the rudiment. And so by learning this and feeling comfortable with that motion, that speeds up the process that you get to learn and execute on the technique. And it's really just going to be a matter of getting that pinch in the double stroke in the diddle, right? And figuring out, switching up your technique ever so slightly in order to be able to play the, the diddle versus the single strokes when they come up. And then once you go to put them together, all the mechanics are there. And again, like we've talked about, it's just a matter of getting over the mental block and just speeding it up and playing it perfectly in time. And then, of course, just go through and play that with all of the diddle rudiments. There's really no reason not to go through and do this. It also gives you a great insight into the stroke preps. You can see that I'm doing in my, when I'm playing that very slowly, I'm saying to myself, pair up, diddle, because the next note on the left hand is going to be that downstroke from an accent. Pair up, diddle. pair up, diddle, 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 pair a diddle, pair a diddle. Okay, now let's go ahead and grab a pair of sticks and a practice pad and play through all these exercises at the silver tempo.